Hi, I'm Andrew Tanner, the spokesperson for Yoga Alliance, and I'm here with Seattle Yoga News. So Yoga Alliance is the largest yoga association in the world. We represent 60,000 yoga teachers, close to 4,000 schools. We do a couple different functions for the yoga community. Right now, we're the only advocacy group for the yoga community. So whenever there's a state or federal law that affects the yoga industry, like for example in Colorado right now, the Department of Education is trying to regulate the yoga teacher trainings and regulate potentially yoga teachers, we step in and we can actually advocate on their behalf. We now have a 501c6 that can do lobbying work or that can hire lobbying groups. So that's one big element that we're doing. We've also done advocacy work for example, when someone tried to sue the school system in Encinitas, California to stop yoga being taught in the schools. Yoga Alliance is able to help with the legal fees for the defendant and also provide the expert witness and creating the amicus brief, which is a really important document that helps the court decide what they're going to do. Other things that we do are we create the standards for the credential for yoga teacher training. And the biggest thing we're doing now is we've changed the standard to be what we call a social credential, which means we're holding the schools a little more accountable than we've ever had in the past. They have to submit their curriculum with learning objectives, and that curriculum is public, so people can see what the schools are doing and which schools have a more robust curriculum or a less robust curriculum. Also, when teachers graduate the program and want to become registered with us, they then evaluate the school, and that rolls back into the school's social credential. So the public can have an idea on how people are, what people think of the training they're taking. We do other work as well, like we provide free business education for yoga teachers and yoga studio owners. So education, advocacy, and the standards are our main work right now. Oh, there's a lot we could have done better, that's for sure. I got involved in Yoga Alliance in 2012. Before that, I would definitely have called myself a disgruntled Yoga Alliance member. Now I call myself a gruntled Yoga Alliance member because we've actually made some strong positive changes. But we didn't have any oversight in the past. It's all on the honor system. And, when the yoga industry grew so quickly, so fast, we didn't have the technology or the way to kind of figure out how we can add integrity to the credential, given the massive amount of growth that was going on. So I think that's one of the problems that Yoga Alliance has had, trying to figure out how to add integrity to the credential without stomping on the diversity, because that's another issue we have, that one yoga school says we should do poses like this, another says alignment's not important, it's about connecting with your chakras, or there's difference of opinion on what yoga should or shouldn't be. I also think some of the things we've done well in the last few years, finally going from just being a 501c3 from really our inception in the late 90s until 2011, Yoga Alliance was only a 501c3. It was just a registry, nothing else. In 2011, we started the 501c6, and it really got rolling over the last 3-4 years. And that's why we have all these member benefits now. In the last 3 years, our insurance benefit is by far the cheapest insurance with the best coverage that's available to the market, and that's because we're a nonprofit and we give all the discount back to our members. We're also proud that we haven't increased our rates since we opened. It's still $55 a year to be a yoga teacher registered with us. I think we could be doing so much more in regards to advocacy work and seva work. I would love to see us use our power to mobilize more yoga teachers to bring yoga to more disadvantaged populations. I think that's something that Yoga Alliance would love to eventually do. We're still, this is an organization run by yogis with a board that is volunteer. So people often think like, oh, Yoga Alliance, they're just out there, they want our money, they're just collecting our money, they don't do anything for us. I know I had that perception before, but it's actually an organization owned by its members. So what we're finally doing now, which I think is really great, is we're out listening to our members. Like, I'm here at this event in Seattle talking to members. We're giving out free headshots as just a gift to any yoga teacher, regardless if they're a member or not. And we're trying to find out what a community wants from us. I think that's something we also could have done better for the last 10 years. It's been insular at times, for sure. And so, you know, we're here to move forward, and we're welcoming the feedback, the constructive feedback, and we know that, you know, frankly, we have a lot better work to do in the future. Okay, well, I can strongly say that we're going to be the strongest advocacy organization that we can be. We're going to advocate for self-regulation for yoga teachers. That means people who teach group yoga classes. We're going to, wherever we see times where the yoga industry is being attacked, whether it be by a government agency or by a for-profit entity that's maybe doing something that is going to hurt the industry, we're going to fight to protect it. I can also say that we're interested in marketing yoga and kind of there's so much, like when yoga to the mainstream, it's the mainstream population who doesn't practice yoga thinks of it as like bendy, very maybe beautiful kind of woman that is this ideal that isn't necessarily about the spiritual aspect of yoga or the mindfulness or the health benefits of yoga. And we're going to start marketing yoga. Actually, we're about to have an ad in Self magazine that's just marketing yoga. And I would love to see us, you know, have more ads for yoga as an industry. Like the pistachio markets themselves at the Super Bowl. I mean, how awesome would that be to have a cool ad at the Super Bowl just marketing yoga? And I think there's a lot we could do with that. I mean, I can't make any promises right now, you know, but these are my things that I really would love to see happen. I also think that the organization cares about making our yoga teaching more safe, and we're going to look at ways that we can use social credentialing to do that. There's a lot more options that we have with social credentialing than we ever had in the past. So we need to get creative on that. We need input from the yoga community. Another thing I could promise is that we're going to listen to our members. We're going to do member surveys. We're going to find out what people want from us because we are growing so fast. We are like a powerhouse. We are growing by almost 1,000 members a month. We're worldwide, so we have to use this funds in a proper way for the benefit of the community, and I definitely think we're going to do that. First of all, if you go on our website right now, we have a lot of free webinars about this topic because it's a very important topic. The reality of the situation is that the federal government, not the state governments, the federal government has made recommendations to the state governments to start going after businesses, small businesses on this regard. And it is challenging for a yoga studio to win if they get audited by the state or the federal government in this regard. This is not a law that, this is a law that applies to every small business equally. So it's not a law that we feel we have the ability to change. We have heard of studios that have been able to prove and win and say that they should be able to have independent contractors, and I just met a studio owner in Colorado who has had that experience, but there's been far more studios that have been fined and have lost their appeals. So what we're doing is we can't give legal advice, obviously, but we can give, we have a webinar coming up that's like, if you're going to try to prove that you should be using independent contractors, here are the most important things you need to hit on. You know, it's much safer to not have independent contractors. It can be anywhere from a 10 to 12% increase in your expenses, but the benefits you get are that you have employees and you can have more loyalty. You can have them be at all your staff meetings. You don't have to not like corralling cats when you're trying to get a lot of independent contractors together at the same time. I've owned yoga studios since 2007, and we've always had employees, even from day one when we opened. The laws in some states are more rigorous than others. What we're trying to do is just provide as much information as we can so that people can make the best choice that they can. But we can't tell people what to do in regards to that. So a couple things. Number one, for the first time, we're going to mandate and enforce continuing education. We think that anyone who's teaching yoga should figure out the requirements are still pretty small. I think most teachers are not going to have a problem doing 45 hours of continuing ed every 3 years. And a certain number of those hours can be non-contact, which means you could be reading the Bhagavad Gita or doing your own home practice, or sorry, not your own home practice, but practicing with another teacher from the internet or something as non-contact. And then a certain number of hours will be contact. So taking classes with another teacher, ERYT, an experienced teacher, taking workshops. When you go to festivals like this, a lot of these events will count towards continuing ed. We feel that if we want our credential to mean something, we have to enforce that, and we're going to start doing that in the future. Right now, teachers can upload their continuing ed onto their profile. And another thing that we never had in the past was our registry profile didn't track continuing ed to the public. It didn't track how many hours you've taught, how many years you've been teaching. Now the online profile is much more robust, and we're going to continue to make it look more beautiful, make it be more robust, so that when the public looks at your official online profile, they can see all the trainings that you've done, not just the teacher trainings that you've done, and they can see all the classes that you've taught. And I think that helps distinguish between the more experienced teachers and the teachers that are newer. So we think that will help create more transparency in the community so that the public can see, who they're training with, and if they want to train with someone with more experience, they can find that person through the website. I don't believe we do. I just researched the best data from IBIS worldwide. They did a study in 2013. Yoga is still growing, but it's like any industry. There's a growth phase, and there will be a sunset phase where where the larger companies will become stronger, smaller ones will fall away. That happens in every industry. We're not there yet. We're actually still in a growth phase. The problem is there are some markets that are saturated, like San Francisco or New York, and there's a lot of teacher training going on there. The thing is, what's different about now and say 10 years ago is there's a lot of new yoga students and there's a lot of new yoga teachers. And every advanced yoga teacher, every amazing yoga teacher was once a total newbie, and there's just more people into it now than ever before. And so I think that with the age of information that we're in, the ability that people have to find, you can go on Google and easily find advanced teachers in your area. So I think we need to trust the public a little more, and let people they're figuring it out on their own already. At the same time, yeah, there's certainly a lot of new teachers, and you learn through teaching as well. So I know, Yogi Bhajan says, right, if you want to, want to learn about something, you read about it. You want to get good at something, you practice it. You want to master something, you teach it. So I see teaching as a part of the deepening the practice. And the reality is, now studios, there's so many teachers that now studios can hire people with 500-hour certificates. They can hire people who've been teaching for a longer time. If they are hiring newer teachers, it's because those teachers are good. And there are people that, after 200 hours, are really ready to teach. And there are people that go through 1,000 hours of training and are still not that great. So that's my feeling on it, and I think that the public, the market, has to figure it out on its own.